You won't believe what happened at Joe's fish shop one ordinary day. It started with a hungry cat. Nothing too unusual about that, right? But this wasn't just any cat. No, this cat walked into the shop with something very peculiar in its mouth. A leaf. Yes, you heard that right. A leaf. But here's the twist. The cat wasn't looking for a snack in the alley or scrounging through trash. This clever little feline had a mission, a very specific mission. What happened next would surprise Joe and everyone who came to the shop that day. Stay tuned for today's video, and animals need love to learn more. Tommy Finch, the local fishmonger, had been running his shop on Willow Street for 5 years. Every day was busy, customers coming and going, the sound of fresh fish being sliced and packed, and the familiar hum of the neighborhood. It was the kind of rhythm Tommy had grown accustomed to, a steady flow of work that made the days feel both fulfilling and routine. But recently, Tommy had noticed something strange. There was a cat. At first, he thought little of it. A stray here and there wasn't uncommon, but this one was different. Every morning when Tommy opened his shop, the cat would appear, not in the usual alleyway or under the nearby bushes, but right outside his window. A small tabby with a soft coat and bright, curious eyes. The cat didn't seem to be in any hurry. It would simply sit there, staring inside, watching Tommy work. It didn't beg, it didn't meow, just an odd, silent observer. He named the cat Marble as the close customer. One afternoon, Marble wandered into the shop with a leaf carefully clasped between his teeth. Tommy had seen him visit many times before, but today was different. Marble didn't just sit by the window or lurk near the door. He walked right up to the counter, dropped the leaf in front of Tommy, and then sat down. His big eyes locked on Tommy, as if waiting for something. Tommy paused, taken aback by the cat's unusual behavior. Marble wasn't the kind of cat to demand attention, so Tommy wondered what he was trying to say. After a moment, it hit him. The leaf. Marble wasn't just sitting there, it was a payment. Just like the human customers who paid for fish with cash, Marble seemed to be offering the leaf in exchange for something. Tommy couldn't help but smile. It was the strangest thing, but in that moment, it felt like Marble had created a new form of trade. A leaf for a piece of fish. Tommy stood there, stunned for a moment. He had two options. He could dismiss Marble as a strange leaf-carrying creature and send him back outside, or he could do something he never thought he'd do, treat this furry visitor as a paying customer. After a moment of thought, Tommy made a surprising choice. He leaned over the counter, picked up a small piece of fish, and placed it in front of Marble. The cat's eyes lit up as he grabbed the fish and ran off, his leaf still lying forgotten on the counter. Tommy chuckled to himself. It worked. He had just made a deal with a cat, and it felt oddly right. From that day forward, Marble became a regular visitor to Tommy's fish shop. Every morning, like clockwork, Marble would show up with a leaf in his mouth, drop it on the counter, and wait for his fish. As the days passed, Marble's visits became an endearing part of the shop's routine. Tommy and the customers grew fond of him. People would smile whenever they saw the cat sitting patiently by the counter or walking in with his leaf. The shop's employees even started leaving fresh water out for him near the door, and Marble would happily sip from it before claiming his prize. Tommy and his regulars began to affectionately refer to him as Sushi, after the food he seemed so fond of. Marble, or Sushi as he was now known, had become part of the family. Every day he would come for his fish, happily accepting his meal in exchange for a leaf. It was a simple yet perfect routine, and Tommy couldn't imagine his shop without him. But little did Tommy know, what started as a quirky exchange would soon turn into something far more meaningful than he could have ever imagined. It was an ordinary morning at Tommy Finch's fish shop. until the door opened and Marble didn't walk in. Tommy glanced around, half expecting the familiar Tabby to appear at any moment, but as the hours passed, he began to feel an unsettling sense of worry. It wasn't like Sushi to skip a day. He always showed up, leaf in mouth, eager for his fish. Tommy went about his work, but his mind kept drifting to the empty counter where Sushi usually sat. By late afternoon, Tommy couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling in his stomach. After the shop closed for the day, he locked up and set out to find his feline friend. He searched around the neighborhood, checked the park across the street, and even asked a few of the regulars if they had seen him. No one had. Tommy walked the streets, calling Sushi's name, but the world felt quiet and empty without the cat's familiar presence. He refused to rest until he knew Sushi was okay. Just as the last rays of sunlight dipped behind the horizon, Tommy turned a corner near the edge of town and froze. There, lying motionless by the side of the road, was Sushi. Tommy's heart skipped a beat. The little tabby wasn't moving. At first, Tommy hoped he was just sleeping, but the sight of blood around Sushi's body made his stomach churn. Without a second thought, Tommy rushed to the cat's side. He gently scooped Sushi up, his pulse racing with fear. The cat was cold, limp, and seemed barely conscious. But there was no time to waste. Tommy didn't care about anything else. He had to get Sushi to the vet, fast. At the animal clinic, Tommy practically burst through the doors, holding Sushi in his arms. Dr. Olivia Rivers, the kind-hearted vet, immediately took the cat from him and began assessing the damage. Sushi's small body was battered, his fur matted with blood, his breathing labored, and his side swollen from what appeared to be broken ribs. Dr. Rivers worked quickly, ordering an emergency surgery. "We need to repair the damage to his ribs and check for internal bleeding," she explained. "He's in critical condition, but we're going to do everything we can." Tommy could only nod, his throat tight with worry. He didn't know if he would get to say goodbye to his friend, but he refused to give up hope. The hours that followed were agonizing. Tommy waited in the small, sterile waiting room, pacing back and forth, his hands trembling. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Dr. Rivers came in with a weary but hopeful look on her face. "His injuries are severe," she said, her voice soft. "Broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a lot of blood loss. But he's hanging on. He's a fighter. We'll keep him under observation for the night." Tommy let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The news was better than he dared to hope. The next day, Tommy returned to the clinic, his heart in his throat. Dr. Rivers led him to the back where Sushi lay on a soft bed, hooked up to oxygen and IV fluids. His tiny body was covered in bandages, but his eyes, those familiar, mischievous eyes, blinked up at Tommy. "He's still a long way from fully recovered," Dr. Rivers said, "but he's stable now. He's breathing more easily, and he's starting to respond to us." Tommy sat by the cat's side, gently petting his fur. Sushi didn't get up, but he leaned into the touch, purring faintly. It was a small, reassuring sound, but it meant the world to Tommy. Over the next few days, Sushi slowly regained strength. His wounds healed, and the light returned to his eyes. Tommy visited him every day, sitting with him, talking to him, offering him little pieces of fish as a treat. With every passing day, Sushi's health improved. The vet staff were amazed at how quickly he bounced back, and Tommy's heart swelled with relief. The bond between them had grown deeper during those difficult days, and Tommy knew he couldn't bear the thought of losing his little friend. Finally, the day came when Dr. Rivers told Tommy that Sushi was well enough to leave the clinic. But there was a catch. Sushi didn't have a home to go back to. Despite all their efforts, no one had come forward to claim him. "He's a sweet cat," Dr. Rivers said gently, "but he doesn't have a microchip and we've checked everywhere. He needs a home." Tommy didn't hesitate for a second. "I'll take him," he said, his voice firm with resolve. "I won't let him go to a shelter. He's part of my family now." And so, Tommy made the decision to adopt Sushi. After everything that had happened, after the search, the vet visits, and the countless days of worry, Tommy knew he couldn't let Sushi go. The little cat had fought too hard, and now, with his health on the mend, it was clear that he needed a permanent home. Tommy immediately set to work preparing a space for Sushi at home. He bought a comfy cat bed, a soft blanket, and a tall scratching post with dangling toys. He even got him a few squeaky fish toys, knowing how much Sushi had loved the real thing. The corner of Tommy's living room quickly transformed into a cozy, safe space just for Sushi. There was even a small bowl of water with a sign that read, "Sushi's Special Fish Treats," a reminder of their unusual but cherished trade. Sushi, ever the curious cat, explored his new home with cautious steps. It didn't take long for him to settle in, and soon he was lounging comfortably on the soft cushions or chasing the squeaky fish around the room with a joyful meow. From that day on, Sushi was no longer a stray. He had a place to call home, a loving owner in Tommy, and the entire fish shop as his second home. Every day, Tommy's shop became a little brighter with the presence of Sushi, who was now the official greeter to all the customers. He would saunter into the shop in the mornings, his tail high, a confident stride in his step, as if he were the king of the place. Customers, who had once watched the quiet cat from outside, now smiled as Sushi greeted them at the door, perhaps even offering a nod of approval. And while he no longer had to trade leaves for fish, Sushi still found comfort in his daily visits, sometimes curling up by the counter as Tommy worked, enjoying the familiar sounds and smells of the shop that had once been his temporary home. And so, Sushi, the cat who once wandered in with nothing but a leaf in his mouth, found his forever home. What started as a simple exchange became a beautiful reminder of how even the smallest acts of kindness can turn into something truly special. From a fishmonger's shop to a warm home, Sushi's journey shows us that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to lifelong bonds. What's the most unexpected bond you've formed with an animal? Or maybe you've had a unique experience that changed your life in a surprising way. Share your story in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you find our video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Finally, don't forget to turn on our bell and subscribe to our channel Animals Need Love so you don't miss any of our new videos. Thank you for your support. Wishing you all peace, happiness, and a bit of Keanu's kindness in your own life. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.